Live. G'day, guys. Welcome to Momentum Mondays. This is the first episode we're launching today. I've got some special speakers here. It's on. It's powered by the Investor Syndicate, and we've got the CEO and founder himself, Ben Lovro, here. We've got Christopher Sprague, who's a mindset coach who deals with people with their mindset in real estate, and we've also we're moving all over the screen here. So guys, come and join us. Welcome. Jump in the chat. We're going to be interactive, but we're going to talk about all things momentum and mindset and starting the week off in a positive state. So we're pumped up to be here. We're going to jump on every Monday. We're going to come live so that you start the week off. And I'll just go across to Ben. Ben, did you want to just jump in and tell us how you start your Mondays with your routine?
Absolutely. Let's raise the desk so we can get some energy flowing through the body so we can get moving. We're excited. We're excited for Mindset and Momentum Mondays because mindset is where everything starts, right? Everything began in the mind. Everything around you. You look at the cars, the buildings, airplanes, right? It all started with a thought and with an idea. And the mindset is the foundation of anything that we do. So our goal is to compact tons of valuable knowledge, information, and practical mindset routines, for lack of a better word, that you guys can begin implementing inside of your life and inside of your business to help you elevate that level. So with that said, we got Chris on board. Chris is actually a mindset coach. Like, this is his sauce, man. This is his
jam.
sauce.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're excited to have him on, Chris. You want to give yourself a quick introduction?
Yeah, so I'm an introvert that overcame severe public and social anxiety. I was the guy that had trouble in grocery stores, exiting conversations with friends, family was a massive issue. I forced myself into communication, went into public speaking, of all things. I forced myself into sales. The last thing on the planet that I ever thought I was going to do. And through that journey, that process of learning and growing, I really began to understand that I turned that introversion into a superpower, because what I found out was I had a ton of sales resistance. I didn't like people pushing, and I used that to a huge advantage. So over the last 20 years now, I've sold, started my own company at 23, and have followed Dean and Tony Robbins for the last 15 years, just studying, trying to elevate me, trying to create the best version I can of me. And it's gone through waves of ups and downs, and I'm still on that path. I'm still on that journey to create the higher level of self. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. My goal in this, when I do coaching, is to have everybody who's watching to be able to walk away with something immediately that they'll be able to implement into their life, into their business, and most importantly, transfer some of the deepest level of why we do this throughout their business. So in their communications with others, in every interaction with clients, you come from a higher level of vibration, and that's really where mindset really works. So we're going to talk about the power of belief. We're going to give you some tactics that you can put into work right now. We're going to talk about creating a compelling vision. This is going to take some work, but I promise you, if you guys go through that step, the application steps that I'm going to take you through, you're going to superpower your day and leverage every single activity that you have on your plate today with the power of why. And then just to top it off, the importance of gratitude and where that plays. So I'm excited, man. This is who I am. This is what I
Yeah,
love.
And how we
love it, man.
got together is we did a call together, and all these topics come up. And one of the things that we discussed was how a lot of real estate investors actually bypass the mindset and bypass finding a deep why and just go straight to the nuts and bolts. And that's where Christopher come in. Ben is huge in mindset, and we had the conversation that we find that a lot of people don't do well in programs, don't do well in mentorships because they just rush straight to I need to know how to do a deal, and then they don't realise that they've got to connect with sellers when they're talking to them. They've got to have something. They've got to have that motivation in their voice. They've got to have something that's I guess not like commission breath where they're just talking for the sake of talking to someone. They've got to be passionate about what they're doing. So that's got to come from within. And Ben initially said that's been part of his success. Is he does a morning routine, and he gets himself excited when he talks to people. He wants to serve them, and he's pumped up on the highest level. So that's why we got together with Christopher. We had a bit of a chat, and we thought this is what we're going to put out to the people. I know people sort of skim over the mindset thing, but it's the most valuable resource that you can have. So the guys wanted to jump on and share a few of their stories and share some of the top hacks on how to get yourself in that zone, how to play at the highest level when you show up to talk to a seller.
Absolutely. So starting out, a lot of real estate investors, they want a microwave success, right? They want to get in the industry and it's sold as this get rich quick scheme, but that is far from the case, right? So all the excitement, all the energy that's rushing through their bodies, right? They learn, oh, I can make, $10, $20, $50,000 in one deal if I can only align it, right? Or if I can get in contact with the right seller. But guys, it takes a lot of heavy lifting, and it takes really digging down deep to cultivate that foundation and make sure that you have something solid to stand on. Because in the journey of entrepreneurship, it is a roller coaster. You have extreme highs and we got the lows, right? We got the peaks and we got the valleys. And the growth, you guys, everyone wants to get to the mountaintop, but that's not where the growth happens. Because at the top of the mountain, it's real rocky and you can see for miles and miles and miles, but there's no trees, there's no vegetation. That's because the growth happens inside of the valleys, right? The minerals that run from the top of the mountain and they go down into these little valleys and crevices, the rough points in our life, if you will. That's the character building stages, right? That's where the growth actually takes place. And so many of us want to put the cart before the horse, right? And we're so focused on the end result that we forget to respect the journey, right? We don't want to honor the commitment that it takes to develop yourself, because at the end of the day, guys, the true gift is discovering the person that you were created to be, right? It's great to have the success and the wins, but falling in love with the journey and falling in love with the process is where it all starts. So with that said, I'm going to kick it to you, Chris. We can dive in a little bit with some mindset resistance.
That's a great segue into the first topic, which is the power of belief. It's hard to appreciate and really fall in love with the journey. And Ben, you couldn't be more spot on when it comes to that statement right there. Falling in love with the journey. If you study champions, people that are the best of the best, they have fallen in love with the journey. I watched an interview with Kobe Bryant on a loss, and this reporter was digging into him like, hey, kind of trying to get a rise out of Kobe. And he asked him, he's like, so after they lost by 20 points, Kobe's pissed about this, right? He likes to win. He goes, how long are you going to look at, or what are you going to do? How long are you going to take to actually review this film? And Kobe looked at him and he smiled and he said, honestly, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this one. and it blew everybody back because what he said was, he's like, you guys just lost by points. And he said, why is that? Why would you be excited and looking forward to watching this particular film? And he said, in this game, I know that when I really dig into it, I'm going to find all sorts of things that I can improve on. That's what falling in love with the process looks like, guys. That's what champions look like. Okay? And the precursor to that, and this is why belief is important. Because guess what? If you don't believe that you can do it, that what you're doing is correct, it's hard to fall in love with that process. You won't take action. If you don't have a feedback that leads you to believe that you're in the right place doing the right thing. This is why it's so powerful to have coaching. Because guess what, guys? Not just in real estate, but in every single business, you're going to be faced with failure after challenge, after frustration. You're going to feel like you're missing bits of knowledge. That's the feedback that you'll get. That's the feedback that you'll get from clients, from realtors, industry partners. And what you need, and that's the repetition that you need, right? But what's the second ingredient to building a skill is feedback. A coach will help you tweak those elements so that now you can be more in alignment. As you see that and you gain a little momentum, now you start to build belief. So it's really, really powerful to not only take massive action, but to get several forms of feedback. The best would be somebody who's already gone through those challenges, who fits somewhat of who you are and how you present. Somebody who's gone through that can give you that feedback. Your belief is going to fuel your action. So we're going to give you some mindset tricks today to help your energy level, to help you take action so that you can get some momentum right off the bat. If you're like me, and a lot of people have this, when you study a new thing, every single program and course, they start off with like 3 days or 3 slides of mindset. There is absolutely a reason to that. And if you're like me, I fast forward those. I did this. So I've studied mindset for a decade. And I'm like, come on, I just need to get to the application. And it wasn't until I flipped it to focus mindset first that I started seeing higher levels of success. Because your mindset and your vibration, your energy level will set that tone for every single activity that you do. So it makes cold calling easier. It makes doing an uncomfortable phone call easier if you're in the right frame of mind. Okay? So that's why mindset's so important, and that's why it's at the front end of everything. So that cycle, if you're taking notes, belief helps you take massive action. Massive action helps you get more results. Results help you feed belief and build that skill. So you can start at any part of that segment. You can start by just taking massive actions without any belief. You start to get results, you get some feedback, now you believe. So that's the power of belief is really, really important. It starts with momentum and feedback.
Hey, just one question for you two guys. You guys have been responsible for training and mentoring a lot of students. You get a lot of new students that come into the real estate space and watch a couple of YouTube videos. They're pumped up, and the common question is, "Oh, look, how do I get leads? How do I get deals? How do I get this and that?" They're so focused on that. How do you get them to refocus with those topics on their why and who they are and what they're doing it for? Like, how does that tie in with the nuts and bolts? Because a lot of people just spray and pray. They come in and they just go silly, and they take massive action, but they haven't got any direction. Now, how do you guys sort of anchor that back to what's driving someone, what their skills are, what they're good at? Have you guys got a technique for that?
That's a great question, Graham.
Go ahead, Ben.
I would say there's not a single secret sauce, because every individual, every personality is different, right? We all have different behaviors, skills, gifts, techniques that we can bring to the industry, right? And we also have different ways of learning. So that's one of the key pieces as a mentor or as a coach, is being able to speak to many, many different personality types, right? And when you look at it in a way that your people and your audience who are engaging, right? Engaging in we'll call it the journey, because this is a journey, right? Just application is great, but it's the art, right? Not the science part of it, but the art of getting your mind in a high performing state, right? And making sure that you're aligned with your ultimate vision, not just going through the motion, spinning on a hamster wheel, expecting results, but actually making sure that you're in alignment with your vision. It's one of those things where you can preach about it, and you can talk about it, and you can instill the principles to your students, to your mentees. But at the end of the day, that application, yes, we can have ways to track activity. Yes, we can have accountability pieces, right? Whether it be a homework assignment, right? Or a feedback loop that we can see if they're actually getting in the trenches and doing it. But at the end of the day, that's one of the hardest parts of the whole equation. It really is, right?
Yeah, well, I know myself. I was in a group that Christopher's been in. We've been coached by the same mentor and the same group of coaches. And one of the things, and that's why I asked that question, is one of the issues I had at the time was being all over the place. And one of the things I was taught was to find a niche, to laser focus, and to actually understand what my skills were as a human being. What was I good at? What was I not good at? And that was a bit of a turning point during that program where I had success after that. I was a bit blocked, and I was trying to do all this stuff. And as Christopher was saying, my energy level was down. But as soon as I actually got within myself and found out what my skill was as a human being, that's where I lifted. My energy lifted, and I played at a higher level. So Christopher could probably go into the nuts and bolts of that, but also finding the person I wanted to serve. What was my story? What was driving me from deep within? Why did I want to do this? Why did I want to get into real estate? Then I looked at my story, and I was a battler. I come from nothing, and I was told I couldn't do it, and I did more and more. So all these things build up that energy that Christopher's talking about, and I'll get him to talk about it now because you guys have, we've all experienced it, and I think the quicker that we can get a newer student or a newer investor into that mindset, the more successful they'll be, and the more the percentages of success will rise. So can you just share a bit of that with us, Christopher, like the nuts and bolts of how to dig deep to find those things?
Absolutely, and it starts with a couple exercises. So remember, my focus is how do we apply? Here's one precursor I want to make, one concept. Mindset is not a skill that you're going to learn and put in your pocket. Mindset is something that is going to be a habit. It's going to be a part of your routine, something you have to have daily maintenance on. So when we talk about mindset, we're really trying to develop habits that put us in that highest state that we know we can be in. And every single one of us that's listening to this right now, I'm going to tell you that you have a higher level of vibration. You have a higher you that you're just trying to unlock. And that is, you have to unlock it in your mind first, and your activities follow. But the exercises that we start out with, so everybody I work with, I do a 7 layers deep exercise with them, which is essentially, I'll give you the cliff notes, but anybody who hasn't experienced that exercise, you're going to go online, go onto YouTube. I want you to look up Dean Graziosi 7 layers deep, and you'll follow. It's about an hour-long process, okay? But I'm going to give you the cliff notes of it right now. All of our goals start out in our head. It's a car, it's a house, it's a certain income. And as you dig, every layer of why, you're going to think about that, what impact it's going to make on your life. Every time you ask that question, it moves your why closer to your heart. You find out it's not money at the end of the game. And if you're not emotional, if you're not sobbing at the end of that exercise, you're doing it wrong. You have to find what, beyond the material side, why we are driven to do what we do. So do that exercise. This is number one. When I work with somebody brand new, this is how I remove all the garbage that might be on the table, and we can focus in on that one thing that empowers them the most. Go down 7 layers and you'll find that. The next exercise I do is we start to, I have them write out the 5 closest people to them in their life. So the 5 most important people in your life. These are the people that are depending on your massive levels of success. And I think sometimes people get into this phase like, oh, if I'm making, massive income, they kind of feel bad about this money relationship, or they feel greedy. When you do this exercise, you start to identify those people in your life that need your massive levels of success to be, as you write that out, you live a moment in your why, and you see what that massive level of success looks like and how it impacts those 5 people around you. So my kids, my wife, my mom, my brother, and we start to envision, when we have massive levels of success, what does that look like for them? What influence do I play in their lives because of massive levels of success? And a lot of times people are way more able to do something for someone else than they are for themselves. So that connection, you go 7 layers deep, you find out your ultimate why, then you actually think about the relation and your influence on those people in your life that need you to have massive levels of success. And once we've done that, the last step, and this is a little trick, a little hack that you can do on every single day. This is like in place of meditation for me, this is what I do. So I'll take 5-10 minutes, and I want to think about 5 years down the road when I hit my major goal. And I go to Thanksgiving, where those people are around me. For me, it's having time to be a dad. It's being able to go to the softball games. It's having time flexibility to go on vacation and go on to, have these life experiences that you only get to have once. For me, that's the deepest level why. My dad passed when he retired. He worked his ass off his whole life. He worked from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. and was tired. I got to see him maybe on the weekends. And as soon as he could retire, he died. And there was so much left on the table. There were so many projects that we were supposed to do. So for me, I'm never going to allow that to happen. And massive level of success, creating a business through real estate, through any venture, it has to touch that nerve. to where it's like it's the frustration or maybe the anxiety of making a phone call when it matches up against your deepest level of why. There's no contest. And as you grow, there's going to be these challenging steps. You're going to have to stretch and get uncomfortable. Ben, I hear you talk about this all the time. Growth does not happen in comfort. So that's how I do it. I got real deep and emotional connection to my heart-centered why. I start looking at the relationship I have with the people around me and how they're going to be impacted and empowered. Because this isn't a me game. And in fact, as you dig deeper into that and you realize those people that are in your life, guess what? They have 5 people that they're influencing as well. So this becomes a team sport really quickly. You know, and I found myself in a coaching atmosphere, which, wow, I can touch 1 million lives. And it's just like every time I dig deeper, those people rely on me to be strong, to take action, to fail forward and be humble in that and to grow through it. Every single one of us listening at going through real estate, you'll find that deep why. And you apply that, that's when we can start training. So those are sorry, I got a little choked there, but that's when you can start.
That's great. That illustrates exactly what we're talking about. It's when you go down 5 layers, let alone 7, if it's not hitting a raw nerve, it's not working. You got to get more honest with it. And this is what drives you when things get tough. This is when you've got to make them 100 calls. This is what drives you, is that emotion and that passion. I just want to, we're getting near time, guys, so I just want to ask Ben first and then Christopher, who shared one of his whys, he's probably got a couple, but tell us a bit about your story and what's motivated you guys and what's where you've had to dig deep and where you've had to find your why and why you do this and what's been able to push you guys up to the next level. I'll start with you, Ben.
Yeah, man. So if you look at most successful people and you look back at their narrative and their storyline, almost every single one of them reached a point in their life, a fork in the road, right? Where they either hit rock bottom, where they had no place to look but up, or they came to a decision point, right? Where the road was going one way or another. And it's in that moment of decision, right, that they made a choice to step over the old mindset, the old belief, the old patterns of thinking to start carving a new path, right? It almost goes to like neurological type of stuff, right? You think of like your brain and the patterns. It's almost like a wagon wheel that's just digging a rut over time, right? And these ways of thinking become so deeply ingrained inside of us, it becomes who we are. So a lot of the people that we work with, they come in for real estate, right? But we end up getting down to a much, much deeper piece of the equation, right? Because we want you to find that why. We want you to find the living water that lives inside of you, because when you can tap into that power, you can do anything that you set your mind to, right? So tying this into my personal story, many of you who have been following us for a while know that I spent 5.5 years in prison. From 2009 to 2014, I was incarcerated. Spent almost my entire 20s inside of a prison cell. But it was in this season that God got a hold of my heart and started to pull out the yucky pieces of me, right? Started to reveal gaps in my character. Started to show me, as I reflected, all the people that I'd hurt along the way, right? But he also showed me that every day that you wake up is a second chance. So it doesn't matter where you're at, doesn't matter who you are, what type of background or past you have. Every single day that you wake up and you have breath in your lungs, you have a new chance to decide what you're going to do with that day, right? And all those tiny little decisions that end up amounting to something much larger. And that's the importance of having a vision, is you're focused on where you want to go and who you want to become before you start doing all the heavy lifting and the work, right? It's like reverse engineering your goals, but you want to start at the end. Because when you have a clear picture at the end, right, you got that vantage point, you can focus on it, right? And that focus can be so laser sharp that when you're investing in something with every ounce of your being, and you're just in the trenches taking massive imperfect action, in this case, real estate investing, we want to change our financial situation, right? Because when we got a control of our resources, well, it makes almost every other area of our life much, much more easy, right? So it makes those hard decisions, picking up the phone call, having hard conversations, or just calling a seller, right? It's crazy how many people get caught up. You know, it's almost like a deer in the headlights when it comes to like getting on the phone. But when you're able to tap into that deeper part of yourself and you establish your why, it makes those barriers that were once in your way start to disappear and they just fade, right? But again, every single one of us has a story. And many of us, all of our stories are still being written, right? But many of us need to get to the root of why we do what we do. Find your purpose, seek counsel, find a community, find a network who can not only hold you accountable, but help you lead you closer to discovering the person that you were created to be.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, Ben. Did you want to have a quick couple of words, Christopher, before we jump off?
Absolutely. No, my journey, as I said before, just briefly, was I had a severe social anxiety. I had this duality though, because I was a super athlete and I excelled and I was a leader on an athletic field, but in a social circle, I was kind of the weird guy. And I was so blessed. My parents, they had so much faith in me. They never went to college. They never thought they were very smart, and they just saw my brother and I as just these beaming, these lights, and they just empowered us that we could do everything and anything that we ever wanted to do. So I grew up with that foundation of just, man, so much support. And here's this massive issue. So my journey into goals and goal setting and mindset work was to overcome this massive communication issue, because I had big dreams. I wanted to be, I wanted to grow a business. I wanted to build and have influence and impact in life. But I had this issue. And there was a phrase that stuck out. It says a closed mouth doesn't eat. If you can't every day, you have to be able to communicate that vision to your prospects, to your teammates. And so that's how my path started. And that was the drive. I hated sales. I couldn't believe it that I was doing it. But because I wanted to overcome my communication issue, I forced myself into it. I forced activity because it aligned with my true vision and to beat this demon that I had. I'll leave it off with this. My theme song is to get 1% better every single day. Progress is power. I don't care what goal you have. If you consistently make progress on a daily basis, so being here hopefully has helped you get 1% progress. Taking massive action, you go and you develop your why, or you start mapping out that deep level why that's emotional. I promise you get 1% better in every part of your life. Progress is power. So I give myself a break. I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to get 10% better today. I'm not trying to get 100% better today. I'm trying to make sure every single day I get 1% better. And that drives me forward to seek it, to find it. Ben was talking about clarity and vision. When you get clear, it activates different parts of your brain, guys. you start to see those little gadgets, those little parts of clarity of your vision. Your brain starts to pick it up. It's called your reticular activating system. You start to pay attention to those people in your life, those opportunities that can lead you down that path. That's why you need clarity. The why gives you the energy, the power to really push forward and do it. The vision gives you actual clarity. You be able to spot these opportunities when they come and to make sure you don't squander them. So that's it. That's my addition. It started out with just this thing. I had to beat this, and it's now become one of my biggest strengths is to communicate. I'm a people guy. That's why I've had success in real estate and sales. It's all people, and I figured that out.
You know what's interesting? What I've discovered along the journey, man, is that in many cases, your place of conflict becomes your place of calling. It's the struggles that we have to come to terms with and deal with inside of our own life that becomes our gift and our message to bring the world, right? In your case, social anxiety.
Yep.
Look how that switch got flipped real quick. Right now he speaks to hundreds and hundreds of people to help them get their mindset right? Yeah. Me being a knucklehead kid, tons of bad choices, rap sheet for days, right? Spending time in prison to getting out and having a mission to impact the world and help entrepreneurs and real estate investors get in the game, right? Graham has a very similar story as well, right? But your place of conflict in many cases becomes your place of calling, because you grow most exceedingly through those challenges and through the struggle than any other point in your life. And when you end up, you walk to the other side of that fire, just like gold, right? All the dross and the impurities get revealed. They get stripped away, right? And you become a new creation on the other side. So let's do this before we leave. Let's give our audience some homework or some actionable steps that they can implement and practice over the next week, so that we can reopen the conversation next Monday and talk about the progress. You got anything in mind, Chris, that we can give the viewers to take home?
100%. Yeah, this is the theme song of this whole, for me, for coaching at all. It's nothing until you put it into action. So I would immediately, guys, I would work on, if you haven't got deep on your why, go to YouTube and find that exercise, 7 layers deep, and really play full out. This could be the genesis of every bit of action you take, and it's worth the time. You're worth the time to develop that. I want you to go 5 people deep on the people that need your massive levels of success. And I want you to start to think about how you're going to impact them. What that means a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. How many people are you going to touch with your massive levels of success? Who's it important to? And then last, when you take a moment to live a moment in your why, think about those times with those people that are going to change your life. That's the reason why we do this. Spend a moment inside of that, feel the gratitude and appreciation of that moment. And it's going to it'll change it flips your mind from thinking, hey, I might not be good enough, to like, man, this is amazing. There's a biological shift in your mind, which we don't have time to go through right now. But the flip to positive just in your mind will help you identify and empower you to take more action. Those are my tips. It's going to take some work. Don't cheat yourself. This is where it all comes together. It means nothing until you do it.
Love it. That's some heavy motivating. Go ahead, Graham.
My one quick tip, I'll just do one quick one because we're up near 40 minutes, so we'll have to jump off in a minute. one quick tip is never give up. Never give up. The minute you give up, you're done forever. So you've got to stay in the game. I won't go into it because we've run out of time, but if I told you what I've been through to be sitting here with these guys over the past 2 or 3 years, you wouldn't believe it. What I've had to endure, what I've had to do to get here, to hang out with these guys. And part of my why is to hang around with the top level people and, like Christopher said, be the best I can be, and then pass that on to people that are trying to learn it from ground zero all the way up. And that's where I come from, ground zero. So I want to be a part of that and share it with like Christopher, with the masses. So that's what drives me. And you can never give up. You've just got to keep going. You'll get slapped down. You'll get blindsided a few times, but you just got to keep getting up, and you've got to show up. And then you get to hang out in rooms with these guys, and that's when the energy really goes the next level. So thanks for joining us, guys. Welcome to the Investor Syndicate Momentum Mondays. This was just a little sneak peek. This is our introduction. So make sure you join us at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday, where you get the real sauce, and it's going to get better and better from next week onwards. This was just our little introduction, and I'm sure if you watch the tape back, you will get a heap of gold nuggets out of this. And we will try and research the 7 levels down, a few bits and pieces to put in the comments so that you guys can take some action points from this. From Ben Lovro, from the CEO of Investor Syndicate, from Christopher Sprague, who is the mindset coach of investors, and your host, Graham Solomon. So join us next week at 2 p.m. and let's really start digging deep into this mindset and get your wheels turning for 2023. Make it your best year. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks, Ben. Great session. Let's get back next week and let's get these people pumped up.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
See you on the other
guys.
side.